The Brave Maker Show is hosted by Tony Gaffestone and Christina Jackson. Thanks for tuning in. It's showtime.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. My name is Tony Gaffestone. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm in Redwood City, California, where I live in the studio headquarters of Brave Maker, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. Love getting to do this work every single week with my friend, co-host, and partner in creativity, Christina Jackson. Uh-oh, you there? I think she's muted. You're muted. You're muted, my friend. All right. Christina is via satellite.
Got it.
That sounds old school, but she's broadcasting live from Las Vegas. Welcome again to the show, Christina.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah, let's do that again. I'm coming to you live from Las Vegas. I'm here at a fabulous family reunion. And so I'm out in the garage. It's the quietest place without all the dogs and kids and karaoke. And yeah, my pronouns are he, she, they. I usually do the show from Dublin and Dublin, California, that is. And today's cosplay is Wolverine meets Black Girl. So there's that part.
We need a Black Girl Wolverine. I'm here for that. Her Wi-Fi is cutting in and out a little bit, so I might be popping in here a little bit. Christina, I'm going to do my inclusive introduction. I am a Caucasian man with brown hair, black glasses, a beard, in front of a big wall that says Brave Maker, and I'm wearing a purple shirt with a cassette tape on it, old school cassette tape. We want to be an inclusive organization because our mission is to elevate brave stories for justice, diversity, and inclusion. Christina, you want to do your visual inclusive introduction? Are you there? I think she's frozen. All right, darn Wi-Fi. Well, we always ask at the beginning of our show, we always ask, how are you braving your way toward your creative goals? That is our opening question, because we want to encourage people to, as well as ourselves, to practice the art of pushing forward, and one thing at a time, one decision, one idea, one act of creativity at a time is how you move your goals forward, whether it's writing a book or a script or creating a song or whatever it is. So that's how we start our show every week, and I will see if Christina is back. But first thing, that the way I created or braved my way this week was meeting with a friend of mine. We meet weekly to talk about our writing, our scripts, and basically I said, hey, I'm going to just pitch all my ideas for this one script I'm working on right now to ask your feedback and to help basically like beat out an outline. So I pulled up my Google Docs. I told her about the story, about the main character, the protagonist, some of the things that I thought this protagonist was going to have to conquer. And she just gave me a bunch of ideas and gave me some kind of bounced off some of the ideas that I had. And it was awesome. So I highly encourage us as creative people to have people to get feedback with and have a regular rhythm of talking about it with somebody, get a writer's group. Super huge in my process. So Christina, are you there? How did you brave your way this week towards your creative goals?
Yes, I'm here. I braved my way towards my creative goals this week by doing some rewrites, courtesy of Cody Smart. She really helped me clean up my issue 1, and I'm applying all of her feedback to issues 2 and 3 of my comic book, hopefully being released just in time for Christmas. So that is how I am braving my way towards my creative goals. I feel like every week it's writing, writing and rewriting is how I'm moving forward with my
Writing.
goals.
Yes. I love that. Cody Smart is one of our partners. She is an Los Angeles film school professor. She also runs her own consulting business as a script doctor, next level screenwriting. I encourage you to reach out to her. She is a part of our screenwriting workshop that we do every third. She's the third session of every month workshop that we do, and she's great. So she will be with our class next week, which is super cool. And if you have not signed up for our screenwriting class and you want to, you can reserve a spot come February 2022, which will be our next workshop that we're going to have. We're going to take a few months off and come back in February. So with that, Christina, let's introduce our special guest. Who do we got this week?
We have author of Going Through Hell to Get to Heaven, SOYINI Taylor. Welcome to the show, SOYINI.
Hello, how are you guys doing? It's good to be here.
And I should say SOYINI Taylor Walton.
That's
Hello.
right, I know. I got the hyphenated thing going on. Yeah. Hi.
SOYINI, thank you so much for coming on the show. We know
thank
that
you.
this is a
Hello.
very busy month for you as an author with all of the work that you do, especially being that it's Domestic Abuse Awareness Month. And we're going to talk about that and talk about your book. So thank you so much for your time. Those of you who are watching live or on the replay, you can go check out her website at soyiniwalton.com. Let's start the interview.
Yes, we're going to jump right in with your origin story, SOYINI. We'd love to know, where were you born and raised, and how has your upbringing uniquely prepared you for the incredible work that you do today?
Wow. Well, thanks again, you guys, for having me. It means a lot, especially like you said, Tony, for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This means a lot. So I was actually born in Oakland, California, and I'm in Oakland, California right now. So I was born here and, grew up in Oakland. I think the Bay Area is just, I think it's the best place to be because, we have so much diversity here, a lot of creativity here, a lot of artists are here. And this is a place where my dreams were formed in life. So after I graduated from high school, I actually wound up, going to college here. And then I decided I wanted to move to the East Coast. It's just always been a big dream of mine to just see how other parts of the country, how they do things. So I moved to the East Coast and began my career in sales. So I worked for Xerox, worked for DHL, always in sales, sales rep, sales management. And during that time, I actually became a life coach. And I did that because I've always been interested in helping people. I've always wanted to write, to inspire people. And I've always just wanted to be a big helper. So that's why I got into like coaching. And lo and behold, I would have never known that the skills that I learned as a life coach prepared me for my biggest tragedy in life, which was actually going through a really brutal attack by my estranged boyfriend, where he actually he shot me in front of my home. And from that horrible experience, thank God I was able, obviously I survived, but I use that as an opportunity to bring awareness about domestic violence to the world and to write about it and let people know through story that you can go through the most horrific thing like I did and you can still make it. You can still dream, you can still live the best life that you desire. And I know that's because I'm an Oakland girl, I'm resilient, just a happy person. So I think that's definitely how Oakland shaped me.
Well, I am so sorry that you had to endure.
Am I frozen?
that.
I hope not.
Oh, you were frozen a little bit. Did you want to comment,
Yeah.
Christina? Go ahead. Oh, she froze again.
Your superpower is being from Oakland, and then
I'm sorry, we keep losing her.
Frozen? Okay, yeah.
So sorry, we keep losing Christina. I wanted to say, again, SOYINI, I'm so sorry for the tragedy that you had to suffer and the way that you were abused. And, it breaks my heart every time I hear the story and the statistics.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I am just really in awe and admire the way that you have risen up and survived and used your survivor story to help others, in creating this book, which is titled Going Through Hell to Get Through Heaven. So we love on this show talking about the making of things, the brave making of things. So talk about how the book came to be and some of the things that you learned and had to conquer in the midst
Sure.
of making it.
Sure. So one thing, since I was actually I think I was in third grade, I asked my mom for a journal, and she's like, "Why do you want a journal?" I was like, "Well, I want to, I want to write. I like to write. I want to write my story." So since I was in third grade, I've always kept a very detailed journal about my life. And when I went through the experience of domestic violence, that entire time period of my life, I was again just chronicling what was happening. Interesting thing, though, I do want to highlight this here is that I wasn't in an abusive relationship at all. I had a very unique story in that I dated the guy for almost a year, and when we broke up, that's when he brought the crazy out, so to speak. So that's when kind of things began to escalate and ultimately turned into him, shooting me twice.
Wow.
So I want to say that, just to say that because every domestic violence situation is different, and that was mine. So getting back to the question, because I always kept journals, I kept detailed records of what was going on, and I promised God and I promised myself that if I could survive this experience, I wanted to use it to help and then, share it with others. So everything happened to me in January 2009. By August of that same year, I decided I was going to write a book. So I literally picked up my journal and I went through different journal entries and I started to craft my story. I started to basically like take people through a day in the life of like my normal life, before I even met him, before anything happened. And I allowed people to just kind of just go through my entire process. They could just see it. It was like if when people read the book, they're like going through journal entries. I'm being that transparent with how the first sign of the stalking. From there, how it continued to escalate on and on to when he started reaching out to my inner circle and reaching out to my pastor, which was absolutely crazy, reaching out to my brother whom he had never met. So I really kind of detail like how that looks, because sometimes we hear words like stalking and domestic violence, but what I tried to do was really create a very clear picture of what it looks like and how quickly it can escalate. So I did that. I just went from my journal, my diary, and just started to put the story together because I knew I wanted to share it. It's very candid. So people can see how ugly that experience really is. And then they can also see the beauty of once you survive that and you're still here, what did I do to kind of get back to life and get back to my dreams? So it's a deeply personal story, and I did that intentionally. Like I said, because sometimes people just kind of glaze over things like, oh yeah, it happened and I survived. But I really wanted people to know what it looks like, the pain and the sorrow, the loneliness, all of that, the hurt, all the emotions that you experience, and then also the joys of surviving and thinking like, "Okay, what do I wanna do with my life now? I faced the most horrific event that anyone can ever imagine. I'm here." Like, how do you tap into that part of yourself that still wants to dream, still wants to create something new? So, people, they kinda go on that journey with me in the book. So, I'm very proud of that. And I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
So, Yini, if you could share with us, the book is so incredibly personal and you're
Yes.
extremely vulnerable in it. Why was that important to you when you were going to share this story?
Um I'm glad you asked that too. I am honestly a very friendly person, but I'm incredibly personal. Yeah, I mean, private, not personal, but just very private. And I was willing to be vulnerable and just open up to the world, just the world, people I'll probably never meet about how this situation actually happened. So I knew in sharing I needed to be authentic, I needed to be raw, and I needed to release that part of myself that was concerned with me admitting that when I met this gentleman, I was kind of desperate. That's not something anybody wants to say, is that, I was in a desperate stage of life and I just attracted this horrible person. But I admit that I talk about, how I didn't have the level of self-love that I needed when I was single. I was kind of desperate to like get married and, start a family and all that stuff. And I let that kind of, you know, just I don't know, create this horrible experience for me. But yeah, it was just important for me to be transparent. I knew that if I'm going to tell this story, I need to tell it
Mm.
as honestly and as candidly as possible.
If you're just joining in on the conversation, you just scrolled on Facebook or YouTube. This is a conversation with Soyini
Mhm.
Taylor Walton on her book, available on Amazon Prime, Going Through Hell to Get to Heaven. I'm Tony Gapistone with my partner, Christina Ray Jackson. Soyini, this is devastating. You were shot in the face
Yeah,
twice
twice,
and
twice.
survived.
Survived.
I'm kind of speechless, and I don't want to bring up that and that former trauma or
Yeah.
trigger you in any way. But how you've been really clear, you've been authentic and raw. You've used the word vulnerable in this book. This is your
Right.
story.
Yeah. This
Talk to us about that. How did you share the
Yeah.
story? How are you healing, and how did you survive being shot in the face twice?
Right. So, just with the stalking, I always knew that because it lasted a good 4 to 5 months, I knew that things weren't gonna end well. So, the night that I got home on January 14, 2009, I was actually relieved when I heard him say my name and he was there, because I kinda intuitively knew that this is a moment. This is a moment where it's gonna be either him or me, and I made the decision in that moment that it was going to be me that was gonna make it. So when he caught me off guard. I was just coming home from church and he caught me off guard. He had parked it kind of in front of my house, but a little bit hidden. So when I got out of the car, he called my name and I turned and I saw him. And he came there that night with the intention of taking my life. So he actually tried to he was grabbing my arm and he was trying to get me to let him in my home. And I didn't, because I knew that he knew that I lived alone and that if he got in there, he would take my life. I knew that he was gonna kill me. And so, when I saw the gun and he aimed it at me, I froze a little bit in that moment, and I just remember saying, "God, this can't be the way I'm gonna leave here." And I remember the first shot, and I remember him doing that, and I could tell that he was kinda, like, in shock, like, "Oh my," like, I could tell that he realized I just shot her. And he walked over after I had fallen down, on the cement, and then he did one more. So he actually got me kind of here and then, here in this area, because I lost my right eye, because of the injuries, because of, it was so damaged. Um, so yeah, I'm able to talk about it, I guess, because I know that I'm helping people and I know that my life was saved for a reason. I tell people when I do this, presentations, I tell people all the time that there was another young lady that lived not too far from where I lived. She was in the exact same situation. Her boyfriend came and he shot her and then he took his own life. And we wound up at the same hospital and the
On
doctors
the same night?
the same night.
Whoa.
This is one of those, like, weird, surreal, like, "How does this happen?" things, and so I learned later that when my parents got the call, they got the call that I didn't make it, and then somebody was like, "No, no, no, she's been," they've helicoptered her over to the shock trauma in Baltimore. So, yeah, I just know that that young lady didn't make it, and I'm here, and who would I be if I just kept this to myself? I couldn't do that. In good conscience, I couldn't do that. I have to share this, I have
Wow.
to.
Wow. Thank you. I'm so
Mhm,
glad you survived. This story is told in the book, Going Through Hell to Get to Heaven. So if you're listening to this on the replay, on the podcast,
mhm.
please go. We'll put the link in the show notes. We also put it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Please share this with somebody if you know anybody who's going through any kind of domestic abuse like this. Soyini, what and Christina, go ahead. You're unmuted. Go ahead, and or if you want to chime in, you can unmute.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Soyini, I just wanted to say, I'm so glad that you survived and that you're here and you have found the strength to share your story. And like you said, you're helping so many strangers, to women who are currently experiencing domestic violence. What do you wish you had known prior to this experience when the stalking started? If someone like you, an empowerment speaker, had approached you and said, "Hey, this is what you need to do," what would you
Right.
say
That's a good
now?
question. That's a really good question. I consider myself a smart woman, but when all this was going on, I didn't even have the language or the understanding to just Google domestic violence. That wasn't a word, that term was not in my head at all. I wish I would have known someone that would tell me to do that. But one good thing that I did that I think anybody should do is have a big mouth. Tell everybody. My dad knew everything. My close circle of friends knew everything. I never shut up about it because that's the biggest thing. People that are experiencing domestic violence, the biggest thing that you can do to just mess everything up is just to keep it to yourself. Don't ever think it's your fault that the person, the abuser is attacking you, and tell everybody. And then contact the domestic violence hotline. It's a very confidential service. They can help you with things like getting a safety plan, getting legal support, also a safe house, like in your local community, getting a safe house so you can get out of that environment. So those are some important things.
Do you find yourself
So you
in
said
your?
to.
Go ahead, Christina. You said you were gonna go. Go ahead,
I was just
Christina.
going to say, you're saying, to have a big mouth, it really takes a lot of strength to not feel the shame, not let the
Right.
embarrassment and feeling like it's my fault and the guilt and everything that you can experience when you are in a domestic violent relationship. So how do you do that? How do you say, okay, hey, tell people watching now, it's not to blame someone as verbally or physically, but what do you want
I think
to
I think some of it
of
got
the
cut off.
shame and the guilt and to
I'm
can you hear
so
me now?
sorry.
Am I
Ah,
back?
Yeah, you're totally cutting out, Christina.
yeah, I
But
was trying to get everything, Christina.
I'm
I
totally cutting out. Okay, I might text these questions to Tony.
okay, yeah, go ahead and text them to me, Christina. I'm sorry, the Wi-Fi I think on your end is just preventing
Okay.
these amazing things you're saying from getting out into the
yeah.
world. But
Ah,
I think I will try to take some of what I grabbed from Christina into this question I want to ask you is you must do a lot of talking with
yes.
survivors and
Mhm,
victims, people who are trying to survive the
mhm,
immense experiences that they have at the hand of a loved one.
mhm.
What are some of the things that you're telling and counseling and encouraging these people that you're encountering to do, and how they can move not just move on, but move forward and
Yeah.
into a place of healing?
And that's a good I'm glad you brought that up. I'm actually in January launching a course that I'm teaching to survivors of domestic violence and taking them from victim to victor.
Hmm.
So what I mean by that is you have a tendency, like early on, especially for me too, I was like, oh, my life is over. I don't think I'm going to trust men again. Do I want to get married? Do I want to have kids? Like maybe I'll just crawl up in a ball, just
Yeah.
because your whole life is like kind of taken away from you. All the dreams that you had, all the hopes, everything you were working on is gone. So I teach in this course in particular, I'm thinking I really teach people how to kind of get down to that bare bones of just like loving yourself completely, starting from there as a foundation to really, you know, creating and embracing this brand new life that you have. And the benefit that you have now is that you've gone through the worst thing that most people could ever imagine. And now you have all that wisdom from that experience and you have the self-love. And at this point now, life is open to you. You can do anything that you want to do. Truly anything that you want to do. It's not the end of your story. It's just a brand new chapter. That's what I tell people all the time. That was one chapter of my life, and now that's over. And now I've moved on to bigger and much better things. And that's possible for anybody.
That sounds like exactly what Christina was asking. I got that via the text, is how do you help people to move from that place of shame and guilt? And it sounds like the most important thing, which, gosh, it's like the foundation of our lives, is how do we learn
It
to
is.
love ourselves?
That's
That
it.
that bare
That's it.
bones of loving ourselves. And I
Mhm.
think your work is so crucial and so important, Soyini. So thank you for
Yes.
what you do. And we're encouraging all of our listeners and viewers to go to soyiniwalton.com. That is spelled SOYINIWALTON. SOYINIWalton.com. We'll have that in our show notes, and we'll also put that
Thank you,
in
guys.
the chat here. Soyini, is there anything else you want to say about the book or anything else about your work before we move into our brave faves, which is our
Um,
ending of the show?
yeah, I would definitely encourage everyone to check out the book because, like I said, it's the most raw, detailed account of domestic violence you'll probably read anywhere. And check out my website. I'm going to be doing a lot of updates to it because I have a lot of like really cool stuff going on. I know right now with Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I'm doing a lot of speaking, but I do love like coaching and working with people one on one. Especially the survivors of domestic violence to get their life back together. So check me out. Check me out. And my email address is Soyini, SOYINI, at soyiniwalton.com. You can reach me directly with that. Now I can't hear you guys.
So Yini, thank you. Sorry. So we're so
Mhm.
grateful you're doing this work in the Bay Area. Christine and I both live here. You live here.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we'll definitely, as we continue to do the work of curating these brave stories, when we find partnerships and people who are doing work or have
Mhm.
films around this topic, we would love to have you be a special guest speaker, especially hopefully
Oh,
as we go
absolutely.
into 2022 and we
Yeah,
do some more in-person gatherings. We would love to have you be a part of the
that'd
Brave
be
Maker community.
wonderful.
So yeah, so great to meet you. Thank you so much for your time. Please, everybody, go to soyiniwalton.com and let's go into our Brave Faves.
Brave Faves. TV shows, films, books, songs, technology, clothing, podcast, food, and more. These are a few of our favorite people, places, and things. Brave Faves.
Okay, Christina, if you're there, launch us out. What's your Brave Fave of the week?
I'm here, and my brave fave of the week is a YouTube channel, Mix with the Masters, and it's really awesome. Tony and I are back in the studio polishing up our Claudia and Juliet song for the music video that we're shooting in November, and we just want to tweak the song a little bit, make it sound amazing. So that's my brave fave. Check them out. They break down all the vocals and productions for a lot of our favorite artists today, like Billie Eilish and The Weeknd. So that's my brave fave. What about you, Tony? What's your brave fave for the week?
Awesome. I will put that in the chat. For some reason, I could not pull it up while Christina was talking, but that link will be in the chat that she was referring to. My brave fave is a documentary that is currently on Netflix. It's called Attack of the Hollywood Cliches. It is a really, really fun documentary. It is what do you call narrated by what's his name, Rob Lowe, and it's so fun because it kind of digs into all of these movies and things that we know and all the kind of like the tropey storylines and cliches. It addresses racism in microaggressions in film and TV. It talks about kind of the ridiculous things that villains do and how sometimes they're totally one-dimensional. And it's so fun. It's really clever. And if you are a screenwriter or a film lover in any way, you should definitely watch it because it's really a fun and inspiring watch. That's my brave fave. What do you have, Soyini? Anything? What would you like to fave for the week?
Well, mine is very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is very simple, but the color for Domestic Violence Awareness Month is purple, like I'm wearing, and I've just been wearing this little bracelet that says "Love is Respect," And inside it has the hotline to call for support. So if anybody's ever going through any domestic violence crisis or whatever, the number's in here and you can wear it. So I've just been wearing this like literally all month.
Love
It's like
it. Can you please
it's
say
my
that
little
number and we'll
accessory.
make sure it's in our chat and put it on our social media?
I sure will. It is, well, this is 1-866 292. I don't have my glasses on. 9633. 9688. I'm sorry.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. We want people to know that if you are in a domestic abuse relationship, you can call this number 866-292-9688. We will also make sure that's in the show notes and on our social media. Thank you so much, Soyini Walton,
Thank you
for
guys for
being on
having
the
me. It's been
show.
fun.
Really,
Thank you
really
so much.
fun. Yeah, please
Yeah.
stay on. We would love to take a picture with you before we
Yeah.
end. You have a comment here from May saying, great interview. Good job. You are beautiful and so amazing.
Oh,
Thank you, May, for watching, and for all of you who are tuning in, both live and on the replay. Remember that Bravemaker is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We love to do this work. We love to talk to people who are bravely making film, art, music, because our world needs these stories. And if you want to not miss anything that we do, please go to bravemaker.com and sign up for our email list, bravemaker.com/buzz. Get on the email list when we have special events like our October 29th, which is going to be a fundraiser and Halloween party. You will be the first to know. Just so you know, we're going to have a bounce house for kids. We're going to have a DJ. We're going to have Robin Jackson, sister to Christina Ray Jackson, singing live. We have some dancers that are going to be there, a costume contest, and some special guests. You're just not going to want to miss it. So thank you so much to all of you who support us and do this great work with us. We're really excited to be a nonprofit organization that really cares about justice, diversity, and inclusion. Christina, what do we got coming up next week?
Yeah, join us again next week, same time, same place, 4 p.m. on our YouTube channel, where we will be joined by author Yvette Vargas, the author of the Badass television series Pitch Structure. And that is next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And just a little teaser for Tony. I won't say too much because I don't know how much Soyini wants to share. There are whispers of turning the book into a film. So we'll see. We'll see. We definitely may be having Soyini back on the show.
Yeah. We'll be talking again.
That's so funny. I was going to ask about that because
Yeah.
it seems like a perfect. Yeah. Do you have a screenwriter already attached?
Yeah, I do.
Right on. Fantastic.
Right now.
Very hush hush.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Silent whispers. Yeah.
That's really, really great. Awesome. Well, congratulations. We're glad that we had you on the show, and definitely come back and talk to us about the film. The Bravemaker Show is produced by Alexandra Todd. Our social media manager is Carrie Alley, and our podcast editor is Barnell Amos. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget, your donations help us do this work. Go to bravemaker.com/donate. All donations are tax deductible. You can use your phone and text the word Bravemaker to 44321. And that's it. Brave stories change the world.
Yeah.
Christina, did you hear?
You are the story. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Hang on one second. So you need.
I
we'll take a picture.
Did I? Am I frozen?
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at bravemaker.org. Like, subscribe, and share. To become a monthly donor, text the word Bravemaker to 44321 or go to bravemaker.com/donate. Thanks for tuning in.